the warmth of memories and the morning light. Jack woke early, as usual, as the first rays of sunlight broke the cold of night and reminded him of the past. In his house, surrounded by the soft rustle of the wind in the tree crowns, there were still echoes of the old days. Years had passed since he had lost his faithful companions, Rocky and Benny. The loss had left a scar in his heart that time had only partially healed. But today, in the stillness of the morning chill, Jack felt he was on the threshold of a new chapter. Remembering every moment when his dogs were with him, he felt an unquenchable longing but also gratitude for every happy moment. Back then it had seemed to him that home was just a roof over his head. Now the house was so much more. It was memories, lessons, an invisible link to the past that he treasured and that reminded him life goes on. Waiting in the kitchen was Ollie, his new companion, whose soft voice and sincere gaze were a ray of light for Jack. They met eyes and smiled at each other as if they realized that together they could overcome the pain of loss. "You know," Allie said quietly, "every new day is a chance to not just survive, but to start over." Jack nodded, remembering how her words had been in every conversation they'd had since fate had given them the opportunity to walk the road to healing. They'd spent the morning discussing plans, dreaming of what their future together would look like. And in that future, there was already a hint of something new, a small sign of life that would someday appear in their home. Part 2. A decision and a new path. One mild autumn day when the world seemed tinted in shades of gold and bronze, Jack and Allie traveled together to a small town known for its cozy animal shelter. Never before had they considered taking another friend, but now the decision matured in their hearts as naturally as breathing. Coffee in hand, smiles on their lips, and a quiet anticipation of the future accompanied their every step through the old streets. At the shelter where the walls breathed care and warmth, they were met by Maria, the owner who always knew how to help those looking for a second life. In the corner of the box, under an old blanket, lay a young sheepdog, a Polanoke with a clean look and light-colored fur, who was affectionately called Max. His big brown eyes radiated innocence and hope. He looked as if he was still searching for his friend, the one who would turn his fate around. "It's like this boy lives in anticipation of change," Allie remarked, taking a seat next to him. Jack, too, came closer and tentatively held out his hand. Max, wary at first, then incredibly affectionate, laid his muzzle on her palm as if to confirm his trust. In that moment, Jack felt something in his chest ignite again, a new spark, a reminder that the past didn't have to hold him back, and that love could heal even the deepest wounds. "Do you think we can be a family to him?" Jack asked with a slight smile, looking at Allie, who was already reading his face. Her eyes reflected the same hopes and dreams. Maria added quietly, "Max has been waiting for you. Everyone gets a second chance. And perhaps this is exactly the step you've been looking for." The decision was made without further ado. Jack signed the necessary documents, and that same evening, as the sunset colored the sky in warm shades of orange and pink, the new member of their family was named Max. Part 3. First Steps in a New Life. A few days later, the house was filled with a new breath. Max, despite his youth, quickly settled into his new place. Every detail, from the old pictures on the walls to the sounds of the engine in the backyard, everything reminded Jack of the past, but now had a new meaning. The house that had once been just a place of memory was now an oasis of life where every morning brought joy. One early morning, with the cool spring air permeating every room, Jack, Allie, and Max went for a long walk along the busy road that led through the hills and fields. Allie held Jack's hand, and Max, tail wagging vigorously, raced ahead, exploring the world with undisguised enthusiasm. See, Max is already showing us that every new day is a chance for change, Jack said with a smile as he watched the sheepdog boy run happily through the green grass. The day was filled with laughter, conversation, and silent gratitude for every moment. On one of the trails, they stopped at a small pond that reflected the clear sky. Jack sat down on a rock, Allie crouched beside him, and Max, content and tired, lay down next to him, closing his eyes. Their gazes met, and in the silence, broken only by the singing of birds, they knew that this was the beginning of a new era. Allie hugged him tighter, her eyes glistening with tears of joy. "We can get through anything together," she said, and the sound was like a quiet melody that could comfort even the most painful wounds of the soul. Part 4. The Path to a Real Family. Several months had passed since Max had become a part of their lives. The house was filled with new sounds, the joyful barking, the rustling of toys, the vibrations of life energy. Jack thought back more and more to his past motorcycle trips. Then he had looked for answers on the endless roads, but now he found them in Ollie's dear eyes and Max's energetic gaze. Once, sitting by the fireplace on a cozy evening, Jack recorded his thoughts in his journal. His manuscript was filled with experience, hope, and gratitude. He wrote about how his life had changed. "I had lost much, but gained more. I learned to love again. I learned to believe again that even after the longest winter comes spring." These lines became a little prayer for him, a reminder that every new day is a chance for healing. Allie began to devise little rituals for their new family. Every Sunday, they would take a walk in the woods, have picnics, and watch the sunset together. Max grew more and more confident, his playfulness energizing both of them with warmth and light. Every step he took, every sincere play reminded them that life goes on, even if its pages are overwritten with pain. In time, their little family became well known in the neighborhood. People talked about the kind biker who went through the bitterness of loss and found love, as well as the dog who taught everyone to enjoy life. This story was an inspirational example that loss does not mean the end, only new beginnings. Epilogue. The light that never fades. Years passed. Jack continued to ride his motorcycle, but now the routes were slower, more meaningful. A new line appeared on his face, a smile as warm and deep as a sunny day after a rainstorm. He and Allie spent evenings together telling stories of their travels, of how one day's loss turned into an opportunity to find family warmth again. Max, now grown and wise, walked beside them like a faithful friend, as if reminding them, every new day is a gift we can rediscover. Their home became a place where every minute was filled with meaning, where the past and the future were intertwined into a single symphony of life. And so, sitting on the porch, Jack watched the sunset as the soft rays of the sun colored the sky in gentle hues. He whispered softly, "To me you were, you always will be, and now our future is all of us together." The silence accepted his words, as if confirming, life, despite the losses, always gives a chance for new love and new joy if the heart is ready to open. So ends this story, a story of how the pain of the past can give way to the light of the future and how one new encounter, one new friend can restore faith in life. This story is not just about Jack, Allie, and Max, but about everyone who has searched the darkness for light and found it in the heart.